your wonderful host, Ben Filipkowski, and indeed your resident film freak.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill Muppets Pride Prejudice when sort of way that totally didn't laugh when you said wonderful. And today we're talking about one of my favorite Christmas movies, and in fact Ben's actual favorite Christmas movie, The Muppet Christmas Carol. Released in 1992 and directed by Brian Henson, this is exactly what it sounds like. Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol, published in 1843, retold how only the Jim Henson crew can, including a delightful collection of songs that will absolutely get stuck in your head. Michael Caine is our Ebenezer Scrooge, and Muppets the Great Gonzo and Rizzo are our omniscient narrators, or perhaps I should say Gonzo is our omniscient narrator and Rizzo is along for the snacks. The human cast behind the Muppets includes Dave Goles, Frank Oz, Steve Whitmire, and Jerry Nelson. If you do not know the story of Christmas Carol, it's pretty straightforward and it has been redone kind of a million times. Ebenezer Scrooge is a wealthy moneylender and he is an absolute jerk to absolutely everyone. On Christmas Eve, he is visited by the ghosts of his deceased business partners, Jacob and Robert Marley, played by Muppet movie critics Statler and Waldorf, followed by the spirits of Christmas past, present, and future, also Muppets. In his past, we see a lonely boy who grew up into a lonely man. In the present, we see he is bereft of friends, but his lower middle-class bookkeeper, Bob Cratchit, and his wife, played by A-list power couple Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, and all of their children are full of grace and joy despite their struggles. And the future is... it's bleak. It's bleak. To make a long story short, Scrooge learns the error of his ways and truly finds the Christmas spirit, making amends with the people in his community and opening his heart to the world yet again. We close as Scrooge brings a smorgasbord of food and somehow the entire city of London and all of the animals in it into the Cratchit home to party. So Ben, this was not your first time seeing this movie,
No.
obviously. So what did it feel like watching it for podcasting today?
Yeah, I felt all the warm, fuzzy emotions, teared up a whole bunch, which I think is just like a thing that has... The older I get, the more I watch movies that have like some emotional connection or resonance for me. I get like misty-eyed at almost every moment. So yeah, this was really fun to go back and just watch and enjoy. I feel like there was probably a point in my childhood where I could quote most of this movie, and I've since lost a lot of that recollection. But give me a couple more watches and it'll probably come crashing back. I forgot how much I love the humor in this. And I forgot how much the humor is not... It never feels like it's too... How best to put this? Because I don't feel like it's humor that is trying to be two things at once. It's not like there's like a facet for adults and one for kids. It just feels like family-friendly humor at all times. And sometimes it's a little edgier and sometimes it's a little tamer. I don't know. Like it just does that Muppet thing that it really lands so well in the middle of so many different it lands perfectly in the center of the Venn diagram for so many people's interests, and particularly mine. And I do think like A Christmas Carol is probably my favorite, holiday, not tradition, I guess, holiday piece of media that I will watch traditionally, I suppose, or consume in some way. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I really love this movie. Michael Caine's performance is legitimately one of the best takes on Scrooge. And at no point is it kind of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I know I'm in a Muppet movie. Like he takes it very seriously, and it works well as a result. And I think like that's part of the fun of this is how it doesn't treat the source material as fodder for comedy. Like there's a respect for it, maybe not a reverence for it, but like they're willing to play with it, but they're not just constantly going like, boy, isn't that weird? Isn't that silly? Like they're not laughing at it.
That's not the Muppet way.
They're finding the humor around it and within it, and I think that's what stands out to me. And boy, I really love this movie. It's very fun to watch.
I mean, I think one of my favorite pieces of Muppet Christmas Carol lore is like, I don't know how true this is. I think this is true from the multitude of places I've heard it, but I could be wrong. That Michael Caine was like, no, I'm going to act this like I'm in the Royal Shakespeare Company. There will be no winks. There will be no nudges. I am surrounded by the most serious of actors, and I am the most serious of Scrooges. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. So good.
I have the exact quote from what he said because it is recorded.
Perfect.
He said, I'm going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. I'm going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me. Which, yeah.
Perfection. Yeah.
Is just
and
so locked in.
Yes. I want to make sure we're making a correction here. It is Sir Michael Caine. He was, in fact, knighted. But yes, Michael Caine. It is in a sharp contrast to another movie that we will have to watch at some point, because before we hit record, I discovered that Ben has never seen Muppet Treasure Island, or at least has not seen it all the way through. Did you say?
Probably haven't seen it in... Yeah. I was going to say 20 years, but that implies that I saw it when I was 15. So probably...
yeah. More than that?
Probably like 25 years is more than 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Tim Curry plays that movie as if he is himself a Muppet. And it brings me great joy as well. So we'll have to do that again. Get you to watch that again very, very soon.
Complete opposite end of the spectrum. Michael.
Truly. Yeah.
Like Michael, are you a Michael Caine or are you a Tim Curry? And not that those are like, not that one is bad and one is good. It's just where do you fall on that?
On the Muppet scale, how Muppet are you? That's going to be the poll for this week's podcast: is how Muppet are you on that scale? So speaking of Michael Caine being a Royal Shakespeare Company level performance against this back wall of Muppets, the thing I really kind of initially brought this to, other than just the fact that we're like Christmas season, we should do something that's Christmas, was the fact that the Christmas Carol, the original book, almost 200 years old, is a classic work of literature that has been done over and over and over. There are Doctor Who episodes, there are Magic School Bus probably, there's like Arthur episodes. God, there are so many of them. And this one really has always stood out to me as a really excellent interpretation of it, because they take the source text at its value, at face value. They don't really, like you mentioned this before, they don't really change anything, but they bring that Muppet vibe to it, and it feels to me like a beautiful intersection of when we talk about so many times in this podcast of the difference between classic media and popular media is just time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This feels like a really good example of that, because this to me is a classic piece of media, but it's, and I'm using very heavy air quotes here, just a kid's Muppets movie. But it's not just a kid's Muppet movie.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's truly just like thinking back, I was trying to take live notes while watching this, and it's got musical numbers in it. It's got Muppets riffing on Muppet things, but it never feels like there's a world in which you do an adaptation of Christmas Carol like this, where they're constantly like doing the nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Isn't this all a little silly? Mm-hmm. And this never engages in that. There's never that. They ultimately respect the source text. They ultimately love the source. Like there's a joy that they're doing this sort of thing, and I think that's really cool. I think there's an earnestness and a sincerity to it, which I think is kind of part and parcel of all things Muppet, ultimately. But I don't know. Yeah, there's a villain song for Scrooge, like right off the bat. It's like the first musical number in this movie, and like it's got the singing vegetables, and then like there's like a rant, like one of the, I think it's Gonzo or Rizzo's like, oh boy, even the vegetables don't like him. Just as like it's just like a thrown off line, but it's goofy, but it's not like, I don't know. I'm struggling to put into words the sincerity that is so evident in this movie, and that I think that's one of the big draws for me. That like, I don't know. I'm gonna kind of do a really tangential thing here, but when I was about 11 or 12, my dad took me to see a one-man stage show, and it was The Simpsons doing Macbeth. And this guy could just do all the Simpsons voices.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was like, he was just doing the Shakespearean language, doing hitting the rhythms of the iambic pentameter, getting those lines out, but like in the voice of Homer Simpson. And it was like, is this a dagger I see before me? And he had like a cool kind of like puppet situation, like paper puppet situation, projection thing set up. Yeah. So it's like the dagger is floating, and then he like goes out of focus with the little camera he has set up on stage, like, or is it a slice of pizza? And it was like the perfect, like, of course, if Homer was Macbeth, yes, he'd be like, is this a dagger or is it? Anyways,
yeah,
but I guess
the smash cut,
and it never felt like a. It never felt like we're going to pick apart the source text as our adaptation, as our parody of it. It felt like we're just going to do a version of that through this lens of these characters, of this sort of approach to fiction and this approach to creating a fictional reality. And I think that is the thing that really draws me in, which is a really weird thing to try and articulate.
Well, no, I think it makes sense because it's if the Muppets, if the Great Gonzo were in fact Charles Dickens and had written the Christmas Carol, this is what it would have been. Yeah. It wouldn't have. They're not mocking it. They're not like parodying it. They are making it as if the Muppet Charles Dickens had written it, and I think that's really cool because it really frames up what the world is, and it makes the whole story very accessible regardless of when you watch it, because language evolves. Go and read the Christmas Carol. It is in language from the 1800s, and then you bring it into the Muppet verse and it's language from 1992, and it's accessible, but the story doesn't change. There are small tweaks so that Jacob Marley was only one guy. It wasn't the two, because they wanted to be able to use Waldorf and Statler. So they made small tweaks, but they didn't ultimately change anything. They didn't try to interpret anything. They just present it to you as if the Great Gonzo had indeed written the story, and I love that.
Yeah, I think I would go even a step further. It's less that it is Gonzo as Dickens telling this story, and more that it is Gonzo is playing Dickens, who's telling the audience this story. Like, there's a bit of that element of like the the Muppets show, where it's like, that it's almost that SNL vibe of like, we're putting on a show and you're going to see a little. Sometimes things kind of come in through the wings and have those references there, but it's that sort of vibe. And you also get that in the opening credits, where it's like the Great Gonzo as Charles Dickens. It's not Gonzo's performer as Gonzo playing Dickens. There's like the layering of performance and how that kind of interacts with us as an audience. The way that they're playing with that audience interaction, I think, is really cool and very, very classically Muppets. And I'm sure that there's like, we could probably spend hours and ages researching and then writing, a thesis on, the nature of constructed reality and fictional reality vis-a-vis the Muppets and the nature of what is a fourth wall if there are, X layers of fiction between us and the performance. And I don't know, that's me getting really that's the thing I love.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a strong tradition that we've seen in other media. Like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a movie that we'll talk about one day. It's on the list. And it does the same thing where cartoons exist with people. And there are people that think it's funny when a cartoon does a cartoon thing, like hits someone with a mallet and they flatten and they pop back up. And there are people that think that's absolutely the worst thing in the whole wide world. And, you know, it's that creation and framing, because we've talked about framing here before, the framing the world as this is a world where Muppets exist, period, full stop. This is not like, you know, this is not us doing it as Muppets. This is just Muppets exist and they're putting on a Shakespeare play, to your point. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do some really cool stuff with that. And you know, speaking of like other adaptational choices that they make, was the Ghost of Christmas Present in the original text? He's got I'm looking it up because I can't quite remember, but he's got like the big robe. This might be something that's been added in so the Ghost of Christmas Present under his robe also takes care of the children want and ignorance, and they're these emaciated you know, images of poverty. That gets cut from this. Some of the more generally spooky stuff is cut, but at the same time they do try and lean on some of the spookier moments, and I like that right off the bat Rizzo's calling out like, oh, that's a good opening line. Kind of makes you shiver a little bit. That's kind of spooky in a cool way. And I think that's like the fun. That's part of the fun of A Christmas Carol, is that it is a ghost story as much as it is this uplifting tale of, you know, human spirit and charity and redemption. I mean,
it's a strong tradition of the song. It's the most wonderful time of the year talks about scary ghost stories. Like, it's a line in that song. And I think the tradition of horror and Christmas pairing together, like peanut butter and jelly, or like
chocolate and peanut butter,
right, are just the best. Because even later on in the film, Gonzo is like, this is too scary for us. We're gonna go. Yeah. You guys enjoy the rest of the movie. We'll catch you at the end.
Yeah.
And that's going to bring us, I think, into the sidebar that has nothing to do with film interpretation in terms of like film, but also it kind of does, because Gonzo and Rizzo, I just love how they engage with the world. It brings me such joy, because the whole time I was like, okay, so they have to climb walls to look into windows. Yeah. They have to climb fences. There's some good bits around that. They can kind of interact with the people, but everybody ignores them until they are actively engaged by Gonzo or Rizzo. They sometimes pretend to be like lamplighters or chimney sweeps or whatever to be part of the world. And even right at the beginning, during that first song, the whole city is singing about how awful Scrooge is. And then he turns around and looks at everybody really meanly, implying that he has heard this entire song being sung about him as he commutes to work.
Yeah. Like, is the song diegetic or non-diegetic? Does it matter?
I don't know.
Because that's even fun too. This kind of gets into like all the like, what level of performance and reality is this all operating in? Because you get in that opening, when Scrooge comes around the corner, his steps and the clack of his cane are syncopated with the beat and rhythm of the song.
Yes.
So it's like Scrooge is not aware of some of the trappings of fiction around him, but he's at least ingrained in it in some way. Like, he is of the story in a way that Gonzo and Rizzo are not. And Gonzo and Rizzo also are able to do that thing. Like, they are able to travel through time with Scrooge, by lassoing his ankle and
but he doesn't notice
and
the
they don't
lasso.
notice. And we never see how they get back to the present, but that doesn't matter. Like, whatever, who cares?
Right. Fictional hand wave, like, it's fine.
And like you're saying, like they are able to interact with the world in a way Scrooge doesn't, in that, like, they're on the shelf at Scrooge's old school for that gag with, like, the statues, and then
the shelf breaks and all the statues go and squish them, and they're trying to push them off the thing. And the professor or headmaster is like, oh, I've been meaning to fix that shelf, because he notices the shelf is broken.
Yeah.
But then, not that Gonzo and Rizzo have broken it.
The professor, of course, played by Sam the Eagle, then has his classic, like, it is the American way. And then Gonzo's like, hey, Sam. And then, like, whispers to him, it's like, it is the British way. Yes. And it's like, it really does give that vibe of, like, I feel like SNL is the closest analog to what the Muppets do, the weird, like, blending of, like, audience and fiction and reality. Yeah. And I love it so much for that. I also love that at the end, they're looking through Scrooge's windows, and then he, like, slams the shutters open, and they just get launched into the snow. Other hilarious bits are they climb the fence, they climb the gate to get into Scrooge's grounds, and Gonzo's like, just jump, I'll catch you. Rizzo overshoots completely, lands in the snow, and then Rizzo's like, oh, I forgot my food, and just walks through the bars, gets his food and comes back, and Gonzo's like, oh, could you have done that? You could have just done that the whole time.
So actually, a funny note on that, and anyone who follows me on Blue Sky will have seen me post about this. The food that he goes to get is jelly beans. He forgot his jelly beans on the other side. Jelly beans were released after, or were invented, whatever, after this book came out. And so they're even out of, like, candy is even the wrong time period, which is, like, I'm sure that's very nitpicky, but it brought me great. I just laughed really hard at that.
This is the kind of brain I have, in that I'm watching this. I took a note right up top. Fun fact, the apples Gonzo is hawking, the Macintosh and the Red Delicious, are both North American varieties and probably would not have been available in Victorian-era London. So
I also I have a lot of questions about Muppet sheep. Listen, this is a tangent we could go on forever. But, like, the world of the Muppet, in which the Muppets are putting on a Dickensian play. Dickensian play. Yeah. Yes. I think, too, that the narration that Gonzo and Rizzo engage in and the way they interact with the world is also just very Shakespearean, because you have the actor off to the side, like, making cracks at the audience and, like, bringing the audience into the story while everything is happening behind them in a way that is not natural, of course.
It's the stage direct. There would be so many stage directions in the play of this that is just, like, square brackets aside. Like, half the play would be an aside to the audience. That's the exact energy, and I love it.
Yes. It's so good.
Truly great. And talking about, like, the humor and stuff, because I think we've talked a little bit about it here and there, but there's never, like, it just feels like all ages in a good in a way that is, like, beyond that sort of, like, inoffensive, so bland, no one laughs at it, if that makes sense. Like,
I mean, there were definitely, I can't quote any off the top of my head. Well, actually, that's a lie. There are jokes meant for adults in this, but they're not, like, they're in the same vein as Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
You used to have jokes for adults, right? But, like, Joseph and Robert Marley, one of the ghosts is Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Which, just little things like that you wouldn't necessarily clock. You would certainly not clock it as a child. I certainly didn't. But, like, as an adult, you're watching this, you're like, oh. Yeah. Like, little, I don't know. There are little nods to keep the adults interested as well. But I think you're right. Like, the humor, similar to Hundreds of Beavers. There's a relatability there of just sometimes you just want something silly and fun and cute. And that's what this is.
But then you also get great lines about like our pens have the moneylenders that work for Scrooge, like our pens have turned into inksicles. Yeah, our assets are frozen. Is a really good line. And that was funny to me as a kid. That's funny to me in my 30s now. So funny. Other good lines. I love Rizzo, because this is going back to our like how you're painting the fourth wall. You're really addressing the fact that this is a fiction. This is a fiction, and the weird fun. Like I've been saying 100 times already, the layering of that fiction. But when Gonzo's like, oh yeah, Scrooge is going into his bedchambers right now, and Rizzo's like, how do you know? He's like, I just know. I'm the narrator. That's what narrators do. And Rizzo's response is, okay, hoity-toity Mr. Godlike Smarty Pants, which is a really good line. And yeah, I love that this is so like, they're not afraid to get like literary, I think is probably the best way I can sum it up.
Yeah.
That's something very near and dear to my heart. And I also just want to call this out while I'm talking about this particular scene. When the bell rings ahead of the Marleys showing up, we get a classic Kurosawa camera move. Because it's the bell is ringing in the foreground, and the camera does the axial cut 2 times in to get closer to Scrooge's expression. That's like the classic. They do this in like Seven Samurai 100 times. They do this in so many movies where it's like this wide shot, long establishing shot, and it gets closer and closer with the cut. Just got to shout out the main man himself.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Or we'll have to change our name, and that would just be a whole branding issue.
Got to do one a year, one episode a year at least.
We're contractually obliged. So this has nothing to do with Kurosawa. I'm sorry. It does have to do with good bits and the world of the Muppets, because I return to my question about Muppet Sheep. There's a moment where in the opening musical number, there is a cart full of Muppet cabbages.
Yes.
And one of the cabbages screams, "Help! He's stealing me!" or something like that. And what do you do with Muppet cabbages? Do you eat Muppet cabbages? Is that a carnivorous act? What do you do? I have so many questions. Are they living creatures? They've got like they talk? I don't. But that in itself is one of those cool world building things where there are assumptions about the world that exists. You don't question it. They're just Muppets and they're just cabbages that sing, and you're like, what is going on?
It kind of the implication for me is that you can only, the Muppet cabbages are cool with being eaten provided you are a paying customer and everyone is fairly compensated for their work. Is my takeaway from that.
Okay.
And if we think too hard about it, the Muppet world falls apart. But
it comes away at the seams, you might say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good bit. That's the first talking vegetable, and then we get the chorus of talking vegetables in the Scrooge song. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I also just wanted to point out when we get to the second flashback, the Ghost of Christmas Past, in the second flashback, with Fozziwig's party, not Fezziwig, Fozzie. Fozzie the bear, in his getup, looks like he stepped off the set for the movie Amadeus. Like, he looks like he should be composing music alongside Mozart. And I just really like that. That's just fun.
Yeah. That was such a well done. I love the flashback. I love how they approached Scrooge and his this very kind employer, but also made it Muppety because he worked at a rubber chicken factory. Yeah. And the fact that they stay true to the book, asterisk, rubber chickens. Mm-hmm. It's just delightful. Also, Scrooge's love interest, the woman that who eventually breaks up with him because he just will not, because he's a finance bro and won't commit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Babe, I gotta make my first million. I gotta, whatever. That's Scrooge.
Yeah.
It's Fozzie's niece, which presupposes either marriage or blood relation between Muppet Fozziewig and this young woman. But again, we don't think too hard about the Muppets, because then you get things like the French chef who has human hands and a Muppet everything else, and I don't want to think about that too much. But it's so good. Yeah, God, I love this movie so much.
Oh yeah, it's great. Well, we were talking about a little bit about this as well with oh my gosh, I cannot remember her name.
The girlfriend?
The love interest.
Mary?
Mary, I believe. Anyways, they cut most versions of this movie nowadays have cut a song that young Scrooge and she have, a duet that they have together about how, you know, is it The Love We've Lost or something? It's their kind of breakup song. And it's a lovely song. It's only about 2 minutes long, I think. Most versions of the movie now cut this. If you're watching on Disney Plus, you can watch the version with the song restored, which I attempted to do, but then Disney Plus was like, no, I'm gonna swap in our cut version. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. But I remember growing up, every time I watched this, I think the VHS copy that my family has had that song on it. So I was like, wait, hang on. Where's that song? So ironically, this is the first movie that we're watching that has a definitive director's cut that we are not discussing currently, which I think is great, that the first director's cut that we're talking in our Film Crit podcast is a Muppet movie. That's just warms my heart.
And the fact that it was I think, like the only change is the one song, right? Like they didn't change anything else.
I think it's like that and maybe like one line somewhere that like I don't notice, because obviously I haven't seen the other cut in so long.
We don't compare line by line as much as, you know, we probably could.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that that's the choice that made it or broke it. But it also speaks a lot to directorial vision. And God, that feels so silly talking about a Muppet movie. But also, it's a really good movie. Because, I mean, if you look at each of the 3 past, present, and future sections, we don't spend a lot of time in the past. And I think I really like that they didn't include this song, because if you think back to your past, you know, the older you get, I hate that I have to think about that now, you don't remember the finer details. And so he wouldn't necessarily remember the breakup song that they sung together. He would remember the pain and the sadness of losing her, right? And I feel like that's the right choice, personally, much as I hate to, you know.
I mean, from a pacing perspective, 100%, I think that cutting the song works. I think that song just underlines what's going on in the scene versus other songs are giving us a little more information or insight or just entertainment. I truly love your take on this, though, because it implies that the songs exist within the universe, that in this Muppets universe, they are, in fact, consciously breaking into song. They understand that they are breaking into song. And therefore, like, the fact that he does not remember this song happening, or the fact that there is no song that he recalls in this past, is like, oh, so Scrooge is aware of the fact that they are singing about him in the opening scenes. And which is certainly an interesting take on how musicals operate, because there's like the jukebox musical, there's the well, that's the only musical term I can remember right now, but like there are musicals where plot is conveyed through song, there's no dialogue, and then there are musicals where there's framing scenes, and then there's a song. Like, there's dialogue, and then there's a song. And I don't know. This is like, your interpretation is presupposing that the reality of the Muppets is one that is inherently musical, and that has just spontaneous background music, which is an interesting take.
Yeah. Well, I think it's true.
Yeah.
Like, I would argue that the fact that he is walking home or walking to work and he gives the grumpy face at everybody who's been singing mean things about him for the last 3 minutes. And then later on at the end, he is the one that kicks off the song. Like Michael Caine said, I'm not going to do anything Muppety. I'm not going to wink. I'm not going to shrug. I'm not going to whatever. But then he sings, presupposing that the world in which he inhabits is a world where you sing and you bring the world together with your music. And that's delightful. Yeah. Also, can you imagine walking to work and everyone's like, oh, this guy.
Yeah. Oh,
you'd be grumpy too.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to get maybe a little pretentious here, but the idea that, like, okay, if we are to accept that this is a world that is inherently musical, then that means that these characters are aware of the music around them. They are aware that this is, in a sense, a production of sorts.
Sure.
Scrooge is still not aware of Gonzo and Rizzo hitching a ride through space and time, Doctor Who style. But then we also get, during the Ghost of Christmas Presents song, towards the end, they're in the kind of a town square, so to speak.
Square.
And you get that crane shot moving back, and you become aware that you're not aware when the camera's at eye level at a certain distance from everything, but as it moves back, you become aware that all the buildings in the background are forced perspective smaller buildings.
Yes.
So if we are to accept that music is inherent to this universe, we must also then accept that these are in fact forced perspective buildings in this universe. Therefore, I posit that this is just an elaborate stage play production done up to look like a movie versus a movie that about a semi-magical world.
Honestly, yeah.
I
would agree with that.
It's an episode of The Muppet Show that we happen to be watching that just has higher production values. That's my opinion.
It's the Christmas special.
Yes.
It's the longer Christmas special that they put on. Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that. Because, like, also, I mean, alternatively, the houses are tiny because there's tiny Muppets. And so, you know... But I think it is more accurate to say that this is a stage play that we just happen to have recorded.
Yes.
But also, I just love the idea of... Because there's another movie that... Spoilers, I'll talk about at the end a little bit. Where there's a Muppet... There are Muppets in the world. And similar to Roger Rabbit, there are Muppet tropes. And so, you know, there's... inexplicable music, or there's like inexplicable props or whatever. And Scrooge is one guy. Mm-hmm. He has his narrators, very like Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell. Mm-hmm. And he has narrators. Not everybody has narrators. Presumably, they might, but I don't think so, because that's not really the implication. So I think, like, stage play is probably closer, because we have this one guy who's special.
Well, and then that all fits in with, like, the very like we've been saying time and time again, the way that, like, they operate with the fourth wall here. You know, that notion that the audience is that fourth wall that is never seen on, like, in a stage show or a TV production, and the way that they're able to interact and have these asides, I think it really fits. And I think in, like, contrast to something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is explicitly like, there's our real world, and also there's Toontown and cartoons exist. Like, there's certain rules that they establish for that, versus this being like, it's a show. Just enjoy. Yeah. And I like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It really does make something that is as potentially gatekeepy as a Dickens novel accessible in that way, because it's just a show. Enjoy. And that's kind of the thesis for how I feel about any classic literature, film, music, you name it. Like, look, Citizen Kane, Seven Samurai, Tchaikovsky's, anything, Sleeping Beauty, you name it, whatever. Carmen, I could go down the list. There are a million pieces of beautiful, fascinating, striking, classical, quote unquote, the classic media. And oftentimes it's so gatekept because it's like, oh, this is so highbrow. This is so whatever. I don't care. Go and listen to it while you're driving in your car or like on a walk or like whatever, because it's good. I don't care if you have to read deeply into it. I don't need your notes. It's like when people are like, oh, you're a fan of AC/DC? List their top 5 songs from 1982. Like, I don't care. I just like AC/DC. And this democratizes one of those pieces of classical literature in a way that's just really fun.
Well, and, I mean, I think it's worth noting as well that Dickens was a popular author of his day.
Right.
Like, Dickens was writing for a mass audience, not just, the wealthy. And the themes that Dickens wrote about were informed by his own experiences. Like, he had to work as a child laborer to help pay off his father's debts. He had firsthand experience of living in poverty and was fortunate enough to, find a way out of that and indeed find a career as a best-selling writer. There's there's actually a great movie. I think it's the Man Who Invented Christmas or something like that. I'd have to look up the name exactly, but it's Dan Stevens as Dickens trying to crack the story of writing a Christmas Carol. Like, he's trying to write a Christmas Carol, and it kind of pulls in these kind of like meta references to a Christmas Carol, like oh my gosh, I can't remember. Christopher Plummer is in it as Scrooge, and Dickens is imagining and creating Scrooge and like envisioning these scenes. And so like we're kind of seeing the fun is that it's like the creative process is playing out on screen. Highly recommend that movie. Really enjoyed it. Great performances, very fun, and a great kind of like metatextual relationship with A Christmas Carol, obviously, but that kind of like playing with how the story was written, playing with the way that is presented is really cool. And you get some of that here as well. Like, it's the creation of this story and what it might mean and how do you adapt that and present it for a different audience.
I think there's something else to be said here around how a lot of the classic media that we enjoy nowadays or point to as this highfalutin literature, capital L, is also quite political, right? Like, there's when Kermit's character Bob Cratchit goes up to Scrooge and is like, hey, can we get some more coal? There's like the joke of like, our ink is inksicles.
Yeah.
He's like, no, absolutely not. It costs too much to heat the building, but they're freezing their butts off, their little rat butts off. And
their
then he's like,
frozen.
hey, their assets are frozen. Yes. Yeah. And then he's like, and also, hey, Christmas, we should get that off. And he's like, that's a poor reason to pick a man's pocket. So Kermit has to manage up and be like, actually, sir, if you look at the cost-benefit analysis of it all, there's nobody to do business with on Christmas Day. So, it's actually more expensive for you to keep the doors open than to have us stay for the day. And it's a waste of good coal. And he's like, okay, I guess. But then you have to work early the day after. I'm like, this is why labor rights are important, you guys.
Yeah.
And there's there's a lot of political messaging then within this story. And even just, it's important to be charitable. It's bad to hoard wealth. It's like, go down the list of all these messages that are included, because Dickens was very aware of class issues of his day.
Yeah.
And that's what he wrote about. Just like anybody who's creating today is not creating in a vacuum. They're creating based on the current political atmosphere that they exist in.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say about that. And so,
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it's wildly controversial to say that we are living through another cost of living crisis. It's certainly different to what was going on in the Victorian era, but like, it's you watch something like this and you're aware of like, oh yeah, the Victorian times were pretty rough for labor rights, just in general, which is a massive understatement. You had full-on child labor. There were no, like the average workday was insanely long. People didn't have weekends, things like that. Yeah. And it was ultimately boiled down to like massive class differences and massive inequality. And then, this gives way to certain developments. People realize like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have kids working in, horrible living conditions, horrible working conditions, nonstop. And, I think like it's authors like Dickens and media that depict some of the realities that he was writing about ultimately has an influence on the world around us and gives way to like people become more aware of certain things through art and through just the creative works of the world. And yeah, I think that's a totally fair thing to say, and I think that's just how it is. Like, I don't know that that's even a remotely political opinion to have. That's just that's how art and creativity works. Yes. That's what it does.
We influence art, and art influences us. That's just the way of the world.
Yeah, yes. and it's not, and I don't mean to say that creative works inherently have one prescribed meaning within them. Mm-hmm. We certainly read into them based on our circumstances and the place that we find ourselves in a given moment. But yeah, I think that I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think that like it's just that's kind of like one of the things that is interesting about Dickens is the class consciousness that he has so present in so much of his work. Mm-hmm. And I think very much a lot of it would be fair for its day, like incredibly I'll say revolutionary for its time. And we look back on it now, and I'm sure that there would be some like, well, he could have done more. It's like, yeah, but for an author in the Victorian era, pretty big deal.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think, and just to bring it back to the Muppets, the fact that they don't shy away from that, like they don't show the worst parts of Victorian London, to be sure, but they certainly do show bits and pieces that are maybe a bit more child friendly. Mm-hmm. In the story that brings across the message a little bit of where Dickens' work would point you if you were to put him on a, compass rose. So I think that is ultimately what makes it so real is not quite the right word for it, but it's what makes it not Muppety, if you will. It is a Muppet movie, but it is not what you would think of as like frivolous or nonsensical. It's very grounded.
Yeah, it's that respect for the original text. It's not shying away from the themes, even if it adapts it in a certain way. Like you have Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim singing their song on their way home. And then the camera pans down to the little guy shivering in the rubble and the trash, trying to keep warm. And
the little rabbit.
Yeah, it's absolutely
that rabbit breaks my
heartbreaking.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get like the mice, they're home in a wall. They're shivering and shaking, and things should be better for them. And yeah, it's nice
there are
to see
snippets of it.
Yeah, they adapt it in a way that I think certainly adults would understand. Obviously, adults would understand, but certainly kids would get the gist of it as well. And I think that's really a big mark in this movie's favor, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the TLDR is God. What a good movie.
TLDR movie good. Go watch.
10 out of 10. All of the notes are good. So we're switching up our closing summary a little bit, but I feel weird asking you what did you like about this movie, because we literally just like point to the last 49 minutes.
Yeah.
But also what recommendations for movies do you have alongside this?
Yeah.
Alongside this film.
I think, for me, I love that this movie walks that line between a very straight adaptation and a parody. And it never feels like it's trying to laugh at the source material. It's never, it's never dunking on anything. It's aware of like the source material. It has respect for it, and it's having fun with it, I think is the best way that I'd put it. And there's an earnestness and a sincerity while finding room for the humor and the comedy. And I think that's the thing that I really appreciate, really love. In some ways, when like I see like an adaptation of a book or something else that I really enjoyed to another medium, I'm kind of a purist in that I want it a certain way because I that's the way that I enjoy it. Obviously, not everyone's going to line up with my tastes, but I like when there's at least like a, hey, we read the thing, we that understand, like, we get the original thing and we're doing this with it, even if what we're doing is different. I appreciate that, and I think if you like this movie, obviously you're going to like Muppet Treasure Island too, because that is another literary adaptation with Muppets, and pirates are fun. Tim Curry as a pirate is extra fun. Tim
Curry as a Muppet is extra fun.
Yeah, can't go wrong. How about you? Other than all of the above, what did you enjoy about this? What recommendations do you have for people?
So I think that across the board, whether you're talking about Sir Michael Caine, whether you're talking about the Muppets, whether you're talking about the actors who play the Muppets, I think the acting is top tier, 100%, 10 out of 10. Again, no notes. It's so good. The comedy timing is impeccable. The emotional beats will crush your soul. And I always love a thing where there are jokes that are just on this side of for the adults that kids can still kind of giggle at. Like, oh my God, they said assets. And it's delightful. And it really does, like I said, make this very dense classical literature piece accessible to more modern audiences in a way that still brings the message across.
Yeah.
It's a movie that if you like Muppet Christmas Carol, there is a movie that was apparently also a Henson property, which is incredible, called Happy Time Murders, which is a world similar to the world of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is also an excellent movie that you might like if you like this movie. Where Muppets just exist. They just are, similar to in this world where they're just putting on a Shakespeare play. Here there's murder. So don't watch this with children in the vicinity. It is not that kind of Muppet movie, but very good. Very good movie if you like the world of Muppets and are now grown up and want to see Muppets doing grown up things. That's also about that. So
do you know what?
You can find us. What?
You know what I want now? I want a Muppet version of The Italian Job with Muppet Michael Caine doing the
God.
You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Okay. That brings us to an important question before I go back into the social plug. I joked about the Pride and Prejudice Muppets because that's kind of the one that gets the most attention, because there are some actors that I think would work excellently against Miss Piggy as our Mr. Darcy. But what's your top pick for Muppet adaptation if you had to have one come out?
I know.
Or if you got to.
My wonderful wife Rachel loves the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie. So part of me thinks, like, what if you just did that movie? Everyone is a Muppet except for Matthew McFadden as Mr. Darcy. Because you still got to get the hand flex. As I understand it, the hand flex is a critical moment in that film. God,
oh my God.
What would be a good Muppet adaptation?
Yeah.
God, that is a really good question. I just think for like sheer
hard
fun.
Because so many would.
Yeah. I feel like maybe like Muppet Godfather would be kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you would like. I don't know that you would need like any human actors in that. I think like if it was just all Muppets, that'd be really cool.
No, you need humans. You absolutely need humans. I think Michael Corleone would have to be human. But Luca Brasi, absolutely a Muppet. Like Fozzie maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, that'd be good. What else? Man, what else would be fun? This could be a podcast into itself.
We could do a whole episode
casting
on this.
Our dream Muppet movie. Yeah.
Okay, Patreon exclusive. Whenever we get to doing those, we'll just cast a bunch of Muppet movies.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. I really want like a Fast and the Furious Muppet movie.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Like,
yeah.
Right? Wouldn't that be good? Jason Momoa and all of the Muppets racing Muppet cars. Like, yeah.
I love how your pick for like the human in that cast is the guy who's been in one Fast and the Furious movie.
But wouldn't he be good against Muppets though?
Yes, absolutely.
He's so good with Muppets.
Yeah. Oh man. Muppet the Holiday and Jude Law is the only human
that'd
in
be
it.
Cute.
That would be good.
That'd be very funny. Oh, so many good possibilities. Give us more Muppet movies.
Yeah.
That's my willing it into existence. We need more Muppet movies. And one day, I want to be in a Muppet movie. And I want to meet Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
And that's my career dream. It's one of many.
We gotta just watch there's the Jason Segel penned and starring
the
Muppet movie. I have to watch that one
musical?
at some point.
Yeah.
No. He was in they had the 2011 Muppets movie. It's just like Jason Segel wrote and starred in it, is my understanding. So I gotta watch that at some point.
To be fair, Jason Segel is also kind of a Muppet. Affectionate brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that to say. Happy holidays, everybody. If you enjoy what we do, you can find us on Patreon and Facebook and Instagram as Coffee and Kurosawa. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Farrah Sarpkaya and at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor. Ben, where can the people find you?
I'm on Blue Skies at the Benjamon, and on Letterboxd is at Benjamon. I think that brings
He likes to make it easy to put the in front of one of them and not the other.
Well, I can't on one of them. It won't let me because I was too late to the party. Or they should just both be Benjamon, but I was too late to the party on one of them. So
tragic.
Yeah, and that brings us to a close here at Coffee and Kurosawa. So just on behalf of myself and Farrah, thank you for listening. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season and Merry Christmas.
Exit stage left. And get the Mises some cheeses.